Hey y'all, we are back. I'm Sylvia.
I'm Kanisha.
And if this is your first time to our channel, thank you for joining us. We are two ladies who love God, love people, love life, and we love to share it with you. So we have a couple of topics that we address every week about experiences that we've had and how our faith relates to that. So check us out and stay tuned. If you haven't already done so, make sure to like this video. Take my word, you will like it. Subscribe and share, and then you can stay in the know about our latest updates and new videos when they come out. So the holiday season's coming up.
Yep.
It's kind of already here. I like to think that, I call it celebration season. Starts in October, starts with, fall and harvest. Halloween goes all the way through actually Valentine's Day. And so, yep, it actually used to be my favorite time of year. And then last year I had I guess, I don't know where my voice is trying to go.
Voice, come back.
Come back, come here. Okay. So it used to be my favorite time of year. And then last year, there was an emotional turn and I wasn't feeling the fave. As you know, I'm a caregiver, or if you don't know, I am a caregiver. And the change with having someone in your family who is recovering from an illness is it takes up a lot of your time, and the things that you used to do, you're not free to do anymore. And my family has always been really big on the holidays. Does your family do holidays real big? We, everybody gets together, we go to different houses, we may go out of town, and all of that wasn't an opportunity for us. And us, I mean my immediate family. And it was disappointing, but what was worse was that it seemed like everybody else continued on. And so I had this feeling of being left behind, and I didn't like it. It's not okay.
No.
I started to get, I guess you could say, disappointed. And then the disappointment, I guess you could say, escalated, but like downward.
She was just rolling down the hill like a little snowball, picking up snow.
Picking up bad feelings is what I was picking up. I was picking up negative thoughts and bad feelings. And so I went from disappointment, went to, I guess kind of frustration, some resentment, some, because I started thinking about how things always were, and then wishing people would do things to make them better, right? And so why doesn't someone help us with this? Or why doesn't someone bring us dinner? Or why doesn't, and I had all of these feelings of what people should be doing because we were in this situation. Mm-hmm. And so what went from disappointment, I don't know, I was just flat out not happy. On the flip side, we've mentioned this before, but I work for hospice. And so one side I'm grieving and I'm having the loss of things as I know it, and so are all the people that I work with. And so I have this whole circle of people who are dealing with the holidays and sickness, and we ain't making each other better. Even though technically it's my job to do that, right? And so we have a unit, a hospital inpatient unit, and because of the holiday, all the food is closed. And so someone I know who owns a restaurant provides a Thanksgiving meal that day for the families that are at the hospitals with their loved ones and the staff that are there as well. And so I go to help set things up and to sit with people and talk to them that late morning, early afternoon. And so a lady walks in. She gets something to eat, she sits down, and I'm, just talking to her. And she's telling me that she's here with her mother, and her mother is at end of life, and they are there with her to be with her when she passes. Then a man walks in and she tells me that's her brother, and they sit down and they talk to me about their mom. And so I'm doing my job and I'm being nice and I'm talking and I'm just trying to be present in the moment. And then a man walks in and I can tell immediately that must be their dad, because the way that they immediately hushed, and they were older than me. You know, these weren't young kid type people. They were full grown adults. But when this mature man came in, the way that they both stopped and watched, kind of like in reverence, I could tell that that must be their father. And so he came in and he was walking down the room, and he stopped at the end and just kind of placed his hand on his daughter's shoulder and, you know, paused for a minute. And then he went down and placed his hand on his son's shoulder and paused for a minute. And, you know, I kind of thought that that little sign of affection was really nice. It wasn't a lot, but it was just, you know, you could see
it was enough.
It was enough. You could see the love that, you know, kind of transpired there. And then he went and fixed him a plate. And, you know, they still didn't say anything. And he came and he sat down and he bowed his head, and I assumed that he was blessing his food, so I didn't, you know, say anything to disturb him. And when he finishes blessing his food, he's like this, and he's kind of holding his fork, and he opens his eyes and he exhales and he says, "And the Lord knows we are thankful." And immediately, I don't know why I get convicted. You just tap me on the shoulder sometimes and be like, "Sylvia, you overreacted." But immediately I was convicted, right? Because I done walked around pouting and griping and moaning. And why won't nobody help me? And why won't nobody make us dinner? And why won't this? And I'm just boo-hooing in my head. And here is a family on Thanksgiving that is literally just waiting for someone they love to die. And he stops and gives thanks to God.
We beat her though.
I was there. I was all...
When we magnify our problems instead of magnifying God, it's easy to get there. And if we be honest, we've all been there. Because what I'm feeling is real. It affects me. I am moved a certain type of way. And it's not bad to feel your feelings, because you should acknowledge and deal with your feelings, but we can't be overconsumed and get lost in our feelings. Because when you get lost in your feelings, then you forget the God who's over it all.
Overconsumed and lost. So that is where I was.
It's real.
And she said it, you magnify it, right? And so I had one thought like, oh, Thanksgiving is not going to be like it was. Well, I'm not going to get to do this. Well, I'm not going to get to do that. Well, why doesn't somebody else do it? How come nobody's called us? How come nobody asked us, did we want something to eat? Did someone check on us to see where, like, it just kept going. And it's like you said, the snowball started happening. And at whatever point it was that I showed up to work on Thanksgiving morning, I was at the lowest point that I thought possible. And I just hated it. And I was miserable, right? But then I watched how they showed each other, you know, reverence and love. And immediately I was like, Sylvia, where are you at? Like, immediately the answer was, you were blessed to be a blessing. And I had to think on that for a minute, because I didn't feel blessed and I didn't feel blessing. So God promised Abram what he would do for Abram, and how through what he does for Abram, how Abram will do for others. You don't see where God tells Abram, and then they're going to do this for you. Okay? He's going to take care of Abram. And so we as believers have this expectation of the world, when our expectation should be of God. And I had this expectation of what, like, my family was going to do, and what the Christmas season and Thanksgiving season was going to do, and how things were going to be at work. And I was disappointed because those expectations were not happening.
They didn't live up to your expectations.
They didn't live up to my expectations. I expected people to do this and people to do that. And, you know, if you've ever been a caregiver, it is challenging. And it is emotionally taxing and physically taxing. And you do wish more people would help. But when I thought about it, I realized that in every stage that I went through, God made things happen. And it didn't come from, you know, the people or the direction that I thought it was coming from. I'm looking at Joe over here, waiting for him to make this possible, and God works it out, and I don't need Joe. Got something you want to say?
Life like, share, and subscribe.
I'm like gonna put that in the middle of the video. I keep looking in the world, right? I keep looking at friends and family and colleagues and associates to do things for me. But my expectation should be in God. In fact, how many times? I don't know how many. But numerous times we are told not to put our trust in man. And it's
all the time we are told that.
I have a couple of them, and I'll list them in the video, but there's one that stood out to me when I was studying it. I have all my expectations in people. Like I did, right? And you talked about how I magnified the problem, right? So think about it. It said in a dry place, salt.
It was getting bigger and bigger and drier and drier.
I wasn't flourishing. I wasn't refreshed. I wasn't soothed, right? Mm-hmm. Because I had these expectations in people. But when I believe and trust in God, like Abram did, right? He was blessed.
If we could only, the same expectation that we have of men, that's the expectation that we should have of God.
Yes, and even more so, because whatever it is that they could do, it don't touch
what God can do. But sometimes we like to put God in a box.
Yes.
And we know there is a scripture that is in my mind that I can't get out.
The good news is, if you tell me what it is, we just stack it up there. Like
if we get the expectation that we have for God in our mind, He can do more than that.
Yes.
So if I'm saying, God, I trust you to do this. God can do this, but He can also do this.
Yes. And that's going back to the next part in Genesis, where God said, I am thy exceeding great reward. And Abram was like, I ain't got no kids, I don't have this, I don't have that. And the Lord told him, look at the stars. Mm-hmm. What I will bless you with will be more than those, and you can't even count them up there, right? But at the end of that, Abram believed, and it was counted unto him as righteousness.
And his name was changed.
And so God did above. Abram was just trying to have a kid. And at the end of the day, God still did what He promised He would do. Mm-hmm. And that's where I had to bring my mind back to. I had my people expectations, and how the scripture said, cursed and blessed. The expectations in people was going to be a curse for me, but believing in God was the blessing. Mm-hmm. And so after we believe in God, the expectation thing came back into play, because actually there's an expectation of me. So I want everybody else to do something, but God has already said, I'm going to take care of everything for you, right? But He said to Abram, through him, all nations of the world would be blessed. So there's an expectation of us when we come into the family, okay? Here I was in my situation, and I thought that I was the lowest of the low, right? Pathetic, I know. I thought the world was ending because I couldn't sit around the table that year.
It was important to you.
It was important to me. But through the fulfillment of God working in my life, I was able to be a blessing to somebody else.
Somebody else needed to be lifted up.
Someone else needed that from me. And what did I do? And it wasn't, that I fixed how we would want the situation to be fixed. But they were able to sit together and have a meal on Thanksgiving Day as a family. And to not have to leave the place where their loved one was laying sick.
You know what else? The situation that you had experienced from caregiving gives you the right kind of heart and the right kind of compassion to deal with people who are experiencing, maybe not caregiving specifically, but you understand the hurt behind it all. That's why you were able to sit and have a conversation, because I'll be honest, there are some times when I'm put in situations where it feels awkward.
Uh-huh.
And to do in unfamiliar territory is intimidating. But when you have someone who has walked those waters before, they're able to be, a help to someone in a way that they need. And your experience with everything that you went through prepares you for that moment to be able to help, to be the blessing in that situation.
Exactly. And so even though we have those expectations, we don't know how our journey is part of us becoming a blessing.
It's all for our making and our molding.
So this year is probably going to be different for a lot of people. And we are not going to be celebrating or observing the holidays the way that we're used to. But instead of looking on the disappointments and the frustrations and building up that resentment, let's look more to God and see where the blessing is in this and how we can be a blessing to others. God has provided for many of us. We have been sustained through Him. What can we do through Him to have all the nations of the world be blessed? And just remember that our expectation is not in what the world can do for us, but in what our God is doing for us and how we can bless the world through Him.